Okay, we'll wait for 5 minutes for others to join. Right, so we can start now. Okay, right. Today we are going to learn about testing and non-testing techniques in counseling. Right, so we do tests and there are non-testing techniques. So if we consider about tests, there are several tests. What are the tests that you know? Tell me the types of tests that you know. Than test වර්ග කියන්න බලන්න. Yes.
Pre-test.
A pre-test, right? Okay. Mhm. Right, pre-test. What else? So have you? Yes, yes.
Placement test.
A placement tests, right? So placement test. Why do we have placement tests?
To select relating courses or something.
Yes, placement means now we place them according to their marks. If they have taken high marks, we select them for diploma courses. If they have scored lower marks, that we select them for certificate courses. So like that, according to the level of the student, we place them in different classes, right? They are placement test. What else?
Impromptu test.
Impromptu test, for what purpose we are having it? We have impromptu speeches.
Yeah, speeches and poems.
Okay, if you consider about tests, right, we have summative tests. Sort of summative tests like O levels, A levels. Then we have formative tests. Formative test means that continuous assessments. That in school, I think you are doing continuous assessments, monthly tests. They are formative tests, right? Then we have achievement tests. That means we conduct tests to see whether the students have achieved the respective knowledge. And so we have achievement tests to what kind of purposes we are doing achievement tests. So we test their different skills. And why do we have achievement tests? To know about their academic proficiency. Academically ඒගොල්ලෝ හොඳට දක්ෂද කියලා බලන්න. We have achievement tests. Right. Then so these are the types of achievement tests: formative tests, summative tests, prognostic tests. So I told you formative test means that we have continuous assessments. So teacher conducts some tests to see whether the students have learned, they have gathered knowledge, they have acquired the skills, right? So then they are formative tests. Summative test means that they are given at the end of a training course, end of a term, right? End of a certain period like GC O level, GC A level, right? So then we need to know how much knowledge they have gained after completing the course. O levels and A levels also the same. Then prognostic tests, they are called readiness tests, right? So then these tests assess how much individual will gain from the training that will be provided related to specific area. So then prognostic tests are conducted after a training course, right? To see how much they have gained from the training, right? Then diagnostic tests. Tell you for what we are doing diagnostic tests and why we are doing diagnostic tests. A diagnostic tests then. So we need to identify the weak areas of the students. What are the areas the student is weak at? What they are weak, durwal. So as an example, if we want to know the level of the students for mathematics, that we can conduct a test and see the marks that the child score. Then thereby we can come to a conclusion that whether he is weak at mathematics or whether he is good at mathematics. Then even for language ability also the same. For English, we can have a diagnostic tests to identify their weaker areas. What are the weak areas? Is the grammar or reading, writing, listening, whatever the areas they are weak at. So achievement tests are criterion referenced or norm referenced. What do you mean by criterion referenced? Criterion reference. If we consider about IELTS tests, there are criteria for marking even listening, even reading, writing. There are criteria. So according to criteria, we have to give the marks. Even for A levels, also the same criterion reference. Even O levels, the criterion reference. They give criteria for us to give marks, right? Then a criterion reference determine the strengths of the test taker. යාට මොනවද පුළුවන් කියලා තමයි එකෙන් හොයන්නේ. It assesses the test taker's knowledge and what he can do with that knowledge. By giving criteria, it assesses the knowledge of the test taker. යාගේ දැනුම තමයි පරීක්ෂා කරන්නේ and what he can do with that knowledge. ඒ දැනුම මොනවද කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. And how well he or she performs according to the predetermined performance level. Then what can he or she do with that knowledge? That is called criterion reference. So these tests have criteria and we give marks according to the given criteria. Then the other one is norm referenced. So norm reference means these are achievement tests. They are also achievement tests like formative, summative that we discussed. Achievement tests that are designed to compare achievement achievement differences among people. Yani එක එක්කෙනා achieve කරලා තියෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා වෙනස්කම් බලන්න තමයි norm reference test තියන්නේ. Here the achievers are ranked from high achievers to low achievers and compare their individual performances with others. In norm reference, according to the marks they obtain, we rank them, right? High achievers, low achievers, then those who have average achievers, right? So then according to their individual performances, we rank them. Then achievement tests can be teacher-made test and standardized test. So teacher also can make achievement tests. Sometimes we can use standardized tests, right? Then teacher-made tests are to assess the knowledge imparted by the teacher in the classroom. So teacher normally prepare a paper to check whether the students have gained the knowledge imparted by the teacher. Right? Whether the child has understood the lesson the teacher gives. Achievement test, monthly test, continuous assessments like that. And right. These tests vary from teacher to teacher, right? So then now if we consider about teachers of the same subject, so one teacher's test differ to other teacher's test, and it differs according to the time, according to the marks given by the teacher. Samaharu 25 දෙනවා, samaharu 50 දෙනවා, samaharu 100 දෙනවා, right? That. So example, continuous assessments, monthly tests. ඒවා තමයි achievement tests given by teachers. Standardized tests. What are standardized tests? They are achievement tests that are developed using specific procedures. They have special procedure. So we have certain time period that we are going to have the tests, and we have rules and regulations, right? So then the scoring procedures, the marks are given according to certain criteria. They are administered in a different way. The results are given in a different way. So then as an example, and they are developed by experts, and they have high technical standards. If we consider about IELTS examination, is it a standardized test, IELTS? Is it a standardized test? The standardized test of the IELTS? Hello? Speak. Kata karan.
Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Yes, it's a standardized test. Why? Explain
Because
why.
they have some method, and in the marking also they have some criterias, achievements. According to that, they allow and give marks. That
Okay.
is the test is done to check our English speaking, reading, writing
Knowledge.
ability. Yes, ma'am.
Skills. Yes, skills.
And
Right.
they evaluate students. They give marks and they give a level according to our knowledge.
Yes. Okay. So they have levels, right? So they have band. So 9, 8, 7, 6, 6.5, 5.5, right? So they are also standardized achievement tests, right? So they have a uniform way of scoring. They have some criteria, and they are administered in a way that they have some rules and regulations, and there's a way that giving us the test results. So they give us a certificate like thing, and they are developed by experts, and they have high technical standards, because when we are doing listening, they give us earphones, so we have to use them and answer the questions. And we have to answer within the given time period. If we cannot answer, that can't help. So they are very strict. So they are developed by experts. They have high technical standards, and they are very reliable. Right? හොර කරන්න බෑ. කායින්වත් copy කරන්න බෑ. So they are very highly reliable. And so why do we need these tests, especially IELTS, for what? Is it for promotion, diagnosis?
No, ma'am. It is only to
What is
check
it for?
our communication skill. As a lot of people go to those countries and study or work. In order to deal with those people, we should have enough standard level of communication.
It's an entry qualification.
Yes.
for a country.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then they are highly reliable, and people can't cheat at IELTS examinations. So they are very reliable, and even I remember that when I sat last, and if I want to go to the washroom before the exam, that they send us one person with us. So they are that much of reliable exams. Right, then we give these standardized tests to promote. For the promotions, they do some achievement tests. To classify or categorize, to diagnose their strengths and weaknesses, to evaluate the students, whether they have learned something. So we have tests for these purposes. Example for standardized tests are O-levels and A-levels, right? Who set the paper? Especially A-level examination, who set the paper? By a lecturer in a university, right? And even they decide the marking scheme. And they are the people who decide the criteria for marking, right? So they are reliable tests. So then it's the entry examination or admission exam for universities. Right. Interest tests. So why do we have interest tests? You just read this information and tell me, why do we have interest tests? Yes. Interest tests. So they assess the people's interest, the individual's interests related to academic success. For before conducting an academic course, that we get their interests, and for job to see before entering a job, we have interest tests, right? So then they only show the interest of a person. It doesn't show any strength or weakness. So therefore, only interest tests cannot be used for selecting people for jobs, because we need to know their skills, whether they have got the training, whether they are capable of handling that area. So therefore, only interest tests are not enough when we are selecting people for jobs. So for that, they have to appear for some other tests like achievement test, aptitude tests, right? So thereby we can help a person to take correct judgment or correct decisions regarding the job they want to find. Then aptitude tests. So what do you mean by aptitude test? Anybody who knows? Aptitude. Is it abhyogata in Sinhala?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is abhyogata, right? So then aptitude tests. So for what purposes that we do aptitude tests? Aptitude tests, especially when the students are sitting for SLAS, Sri Lanka Administrative Service. So for that, they have aptitude tests. Even for A-levels, is there an aptitude test? A-levels are the another?
Is that common paper, ma'am?
Common paper is general knowledge. Ne? Aptitude means abhyogata. So abhyogata, that they are given case studies and they have to answer the question by studying the case study. So especially that when candidates are selected for principal posts, director posts, Sri Lanka Administrative Service, so they have aptitude tests. They give some case study and some scenarios and see whether they can solve or whether they can find solutions to given case studies.
Madam, excuse me, for that can't we take TKT exam?
Aptitude? No, Bhuta. TKT is something that, TKT is not an aptitude test. TKT is an English test. It's an achievement test. Right? TKT is, and have you done TKT?
No, madam.
Right. So do you have any interest of doing TKT?
Yeah.
I think it's very expensive these days. I did it in 2008 because that I was working at the RESC, Regional English Support Center, as a resource person. So they gave us, when we first came to the RESC, they gave us TKT course as a scholarship. So they even paid for us. The British Council they selected us. They paid our course fee and the examination fee, and every day when we take part, we were given some money, about 800 rupees during that time. So we eat and go for shopping and finish it and come home. So it's really interesting, and some of the activities are interesting, some are not. But I don't feel that whether you improve your knowledge by doing TKT exam, because it's only just like MCQ.
Ma'am,
Yes.
Knowledge test,
ma'am,
madam.
for advanced level, we did a project. Ma'am.
What kind of project?
Individual project, we have to submit it. They
Hmm.
give marks before the examination.
So
Can you test?
do you think that it's an aptitude test?
So special ability cluster, we can choose any topic, ma'am, like a research. It was kind of.
No, aptitude test is something else. Abhyogata. That means you are given a challenge. You are given challenging questions. So you have to think. You have to study the scenario or the case, and you have to give answers. So you are given a situation, and there you have to use your knowledge properly and give the answers to solve the problems. It's not that kind of test that you tell, right? So that there are, when you sit for principal's examination, that director to become a director or administrative service officer, that you have, there are aptitude test books also that you can buy from the bookshops, and you can study, right? So aptitude means special ability or number of abilities of a person, right? So it is the natural ability that can be extended and improved by learning and experience. That's why, so now being experienced teachers, aptitude test, that Abhyogata Parikshane, so that answering these scenarios or case studies is easy, because through experience you can do that. It assesses the individual to achieve or excel in a given activity. So whether it assess through aptitude test, we measure whether the person is able to show performances in the given activity. Right. Next one, attitude tests. So here in these tests, attitudes of the people are measured. Can you just give me some example for this attitude tests? Where do you use them? Where do you use Karan? This is very commonly used one. Attitude test. These days I am also entering my data, taking from this. So for what do you use attitude tests? Where do you happen to use? Tell me. Yes. Okay, tell.
Madam, before take the license, is it attitude test?
No. It is an achievement test, because you have to study and use your knowledge and score more marks, that they see whether you have sufficient knowledge to issue the license, whether you have sufficient knowledge about road rules, road signs and all. That you have to show your knowledge. It is an achievement test. Right, then what are attitude tests? Where do you use them? Yes, guess.
In school, ma'am, there are 8 standardization. The teachers have to do only one standardization. Just they are like Pasalaha Prajava and teaching learning process. And so like that there are 8. I can't remember.
Okay.
So
then tell, continue. Then where do you have to use aptitude? Yeah.
in school, then a teacher should continue that only one. So the zonal education office, the officers will come and judge it. We have to give the marks for that, and they come and check what we do and what are the marks we gave for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In that, I saw just like these marks in that paper.
Attitude. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ideas? So now attitude test means now related to
Madam, what about interview? No.
no, Pute, no. At interview, we are talking about interviews later. So attitude test means about a teaching method or about a certain process, right? So we give our attitude. Now, as an example, I am doing my research on outcome-based education. So I did an experimental research. So I have my experimental group and control group. I applied outcome-based education for 3 classes when I was teaching them subjects, and for 3 classes I did not. So after that I gave them one questionnaire for both groups that they have to use that is based on attitudes. Now, first one, as outcome-based education, how do they see as a student? Then how do they see as a teacher? Their level of knowledge about outcome-based education. So they have to circle or underline or put a number according to strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So like that, they have to put the number. එකඟ වෙනවද නැද්ද? නැත්නම් එකඟ මේ නියුට්‍රල්ද මුකුත් හිතන්නේ නැහැ. එකඟ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Strongly එකඟ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So like that, this is now we normally call Likert scale. Likert, Likert scale. So we can have 3 scale or 5 scale. Thereby we can identify the idea of the person related to the statement. We have some statements and there the scale is given to see whether the candidate put 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. Finally, we analyze the data. That is their attitude. Now, if I consider about, if I read one sentence, your perception as a student on the effectiveness of outcome-based education. So now I'll read one statement. As a student, I am aware of what I can achieve at the end of the lesson. So there we have given some options: strongly agree, somewhat agree, no comment, somewhat disagree, strongly disagree. So they have to put the correct, not correct. There's no any correct answer. According to his or her knowledge, they can put a mark anywhere in this 5, right? A mark that means in between these 5, like that. So then they have attitude test. Clear? Is it clear to you? Hello? If not clear, that you ask me the questions. It's not clear. Attitude test is not clear to you. It measures your attitude related to something. ඔයාගේ ආකල්පය මොකක්ද මේ මොන හරි දෙයක් ගැන? Hello? Is it not clear to you? Do you want me to explain? Hello? Okay, talk. Do you want me to explain about the attitude tests again?
No, ma'am, I don't know about others.
You could understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So it's basically about our attitude related to something, or maybe a teaching method, a process, about your school, about if you have taken some research, so about it, like that. So your attitude about certain thing. Right, personality tests. What do you mean by personality? First you tell me that. Personality and මොකක්ද? What do you mean by personality? Is it only outer appearance?
Qualities of a
Sometimes
person.
there are people that who have very nice appearance, but when they talk, only we identify they are fully ignorant people. හරිම මෝඩ මිනිස්සු කියලා. So personality is not only the outer appearance. It comprises lots of things: knowledge, attitudes, what else? Knowledge, attitudes, experience about different fields, leadership, adjusting to situations, all. So then personality tests are conducted to assess the personality of the individual. Importance of conducting personality tests are: personality plays a vital role in determining the vocational and educational success of a person, especially when selecting for jobs. That personality is very, very important. So they conduct personality tests. Now they have psychology tests also. Today, even one of my friends said there's a university, before taking them, a private university, before taking them to the private university, they conduct psychology tests, right? Right. So this is very, very important, the personality tests, right? So then it is essential to know the personality traits of oneself, personality lakshana. Then it's easy for the individual to make educational and occupational adjustments. If they know their characteristics, they can easily adapt to the educational and occupational situations. Personality tests help the individuals to overcome emotional conflicts and to develop traits in managing emotional issues. Because there are some students, they can't tolerate others. Right? So even if they sometimes they cross because of a word, they hit each other. So they can't control their emotions. They can't overcome these emotional conflicts. So then they can't, since they can't manage emotions, they involved in fighting, scolding others, complaining others, right? Personality tests are used to assess the personal behavioral preferences. So then we use personality test for what? To assess the personal behavioral preferences. Behavior in society. How he likes to work, how he can solve problems, how to deal with emotions and feelings. So if there are certain emotions and feelings, how can we deal with them? Right. Then personality tests are important for social counseling, right? So if we give some counseling about the society or having friends and all, that personality tests are very important. So even before going for a job, they need to undergo personality tests, right? Next one is sociometric tests. Have you heard about it? Sociometric? You didn't do psychology? Psychology karane ogollo?
Yes, ma'am, we did, but actually
Sociometric
I'm not
test?
aware.
Right. So this is taught when you are learning about the stages of development of children. So there you are given sociometric test. Why do we do sociometric test? What's the purpose? So the main purpose of doing sociometric tests is to identify the behavior of the children, right? So then teacher observe the behavior of the children while they are engaging in work, while having meals, when they are at the playground, and teacher observes about their interactions, right? Personal interactions, right? So they are tools used for measuring nature of social relationships of a person in a group. So they are in sociometric test, every student in a group is required to write about him first. Second times, the third choice is about significant social setting and pick out a name from the group itself, right? As an example, now imagine I draw a circle and I give you all a place in the circle. Right? After that, I observe your behavior. When you are eating, when there is no teacher in the classroom, when they are outside. So then I observe the behavior. Whether there's a child who is friendly with many of them. ගොඩක් අයත් එක්ක යාළු ළමෙක් ඉන්නවා. And is there a person that everybody loves? හැමෝම ආදරේ ළමෙක් ඉන්නවද? Right? And if so, now here that when they are in groups, with whom do they talk? Group එක වැඩියෙන් කතා කරන කොයි දෙන්නද? ඔය තුන් දෙනාද? So like that we identify the behavior of the students. Then finally, we can find the social star. Tell me what is social
Sorry.
star? Abuda, who is a social star? Who's the social star? Yeah. Social star means now in a group, if one child is liked by many, in certain groups, there are some children that many of them like that person. So if somebody asks, whom would you like to sit next to you in a bus while going on a picnic, they will tell that child's name. So like that. That one is called social star. That means he or she has very good interactions, social interactions, interpersonal connections with others, right? So do you have that kind of children in your classes? Or the students like to be isolated most? What is your observation about your students? Tell me. I'm interested in listening to you. So if you are, when you're teaching, what is your observation about the students in the classes? Do they interact with each other? Are they helpful? Are they selfish? Are there social stars? Just talk about your classes.
There is a boy in my class, madam. He
Hmm.
always try to get the attraction to him. I found that the problem is there is a problem with his family because the father and mother
That means
every day
they
go
are
to
separated.
work. No, they are
Ah.
go to work every day. The elder brothers are also not at home. So he's alone with the home whole day. He came to the school every day. He want to get the attraction all of the students. So he always try to get the attraction to him.
How?
By doing some mischievous activities. Yeah, by doing mischievous activities.
Right. So do the student like it, or is it a trouble for the students?
No, he's a trouble for them.
Okay. So then he
Yeah,
wants
others are not like to him.
Hari, others are complaining about him. So he's a troublemaker.
Yeah, always there are complaints about him.
Okay. Right. Any other complaints? Are there complaints about him? Okay. Any other who would like to share your ideas about your students?
Hello, madam. I am doing grade 1 class.
Okay.
So there is a boy named Romal, right? Actually, he is very talented, and when he works in the classroom, he is very supportive, and others also like him. But the thing is, in the classroom, he is okay.
Okay.
And
Then he may be a social star.
He is very supportive, and he has a pleasant look. That means he always smile and nice. But when he goes home, and he always tell mother others disturb him. What is the reason? I can't understand that. But when I observe, no one disturb him. But he goes home and always complain to mother. Mother told me, but not the child. That other friends are disturb him.
So
Then
talk to
mother
him.
told,
You
don't
talk to him.
keep the
think-
child with them like that. Don't know what.
Madam,
Yes, Sudha.
I think he is boasting about himself.
Yeah, and what you can do is you can secretly call him, so without letting others know that you talk to him. So are they troubling you? So is it a trouble for you? Are there troublemakers who are doing so that you can talk to him in a very friendly manner and
Yes, I asked several times, but he told no.
learn
But
about it.
I
And
guess,
if you feel that he's lying,
but I guessed, madam, I thought the problem is not the child, the problem is the parent. But she is overheaded. That means singular minded person. I think she always wants to keep the child alone, not with others.
Ayyo,
That's why. Then I
ignorance
told
of-
to each and every students they are everything, no, madam. So what she wants, I told, if you want like that, you have to do in individual class, because in the school actually we can't do with everyone. That means some children are shouting, some are very silent, they are different, no.
Yes.
All are not in same way, no, madam. So I explained her, but don't know every day complaining like that.
That's why now the problem is not with the children. The problem
Actually,
is with
parents,
the
madam.
parents. Yes, they are too much. They involve unnecessarily for the things, and they make the children selfish.
And madam, they always try to, that mean, be friendly with the teacher. So that's why they are coming and talking. That means they are making reasons to talk with the teacher. I think they are like that, no, madam.
Because they want better attention to their children than the
Yeah,
others.
that's
That's why they want to make friendly
right.
with the teachers and deceive the teachers, right?
And always she tries to compare the children. That means compare her child with others. My
That's
child is good, others not good, like that. My child is very talented, so don't keep my child.
So even that estimating the children too much is also very bad. Finally, the
Yes.
child may think that he can do everything, and mothers and parents, they don't know. So if they come to that point, it's very difficult, because
Yes,
that
madam.
they have high estimation, that high regard of themselves, and they think that they can do anything. It's not nice. It's not good. Even
It's
it's not
very
good for the
difficult to
parents.
handle, madam.
That's true. That's true. Yes. Even they don't respect the teachers. They think they know better than their teachers. So then
Yes.
you have to handle them with very carefully, because
And
the
madam,
parents'
nowadays
involvement.
parents also very young, no? They don't have good education. They don't know psychology. So the parents also, we can't handle actually them.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. So any other who want to share your ideas like this? Chana doesn't have anything to say. Any others?
In my
You don't have
classes
anything to share?
also, yeah, there are different students like that. Sometimes I have seen some students, they are very supportive, and before the class they come and remind, let's go to class. And in some cases I have seen students with less knowledge, but they are in the need of learning. And I also have met one boy who is in grade 6. That boy always come to me, and he's holding my hand, and he's always coming. Then at that time, a lot of other teachers advised me, do not get him such closer, like that. Actually, I also don't know what to do.
Didn't you search about his family background?
Yeah, after that I searched, ma'am. Then I got to know his father has been killed in front of him.
So you have to be close with whatever.
Yeah, the problem is other teachers are complaining.
Don't
Yeah,
Maybe he comes and always asking, how are you? What are you doing? Next day, may I bring some mangoes? What do you like to eat? Like that, he's asking.
So we have to show more love for those children. Don't neglect him, because sometimes he's seeking that father's love from you. So then
Yeah, ma'am.
be
And
close to him.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, ma'am. In our school, the vice principal is also very friendly with the students. He comes to vice principals or principal also, and he's talking like that. The same method.
My goodness, that
But
needs.
yeah, but many teachers are complaining. Don't give much attention for that child like that. They are telling. I don't know.
So now see what's the meaning of teaching, because that
Yes.
we have to be good guides and counselors, so that
Yes.
these children, because if they feel that nobody loves, that sometimes they may go astray. So even that people, that there are very brainy people who have
Yes.
become underworld figures, famous underworld figures, those people, those children who have not even got the love of even their teachers, because that
Yeah,
now
man.
see the reason. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I want to add one more thing for that. After that, in the staff, I talk about him. Then one of male teacher told me, once that particular boy has told, my father has been killed, was killed in front of me. One day I killed that particular person because I don't have father, and a lot of ones are asking, where's your father? Your father killed, like that. Other boys are joking and doing a lot of things. So he has told, I killed that particular person because after I growing up, I do that and I go to jail because I remember my father a lot, like that. He has told with yeah.
So now, since you are studying guidance and counsel, you have to change his mind.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yeah.
have to always talk to him. Don't
Sure,
listen to
ma'am.
those teachers. Be close to
Yes,
him
ma'am.
and change his mind, because that you know that if you have heard about that poison tree, so it's a nice poem in the previous anthology. So according to poison tree, that when we are angry with a person, that we harbor that anger inside ours. When we are angry with our friends, that we tell, I got angry with you because of this, then our anger is lost. But when we are angry with certain person, and if we do not reveal, it harbors inside us, and finally that he compares that anger to a fruit that is shining, fruit like apple in a tree, only one fruit, and he says that then the enemy, he comes and eat and he dies, he's killed by that. So like that, that harboring anger is very, very harmful, because this little kid, since he has seen that his father was killed by somebody, he will be harboring that anger inside himself, and finally that when he grows up, so you can't eradicate that. So now itself you change his mind, talk to him all the time, and eradicate that anger, that feeling from him. You tell that is useless. So what's the purpose of going to jail? Then you will lose your, now father has already gone. So now if you
Yes.
just have this kind of wrong attitudes, and if you kill that person, then you are losing your youth. So you won't be able to come out for a long period of time. You have to suffer inside the jail. So then you have a lot of responsibilities of looking after your parent, mother, your siblings. So don't do that. So gradually you remove that anger from him. So that can be done by getting closer to him, right? So then don't listen to others, that because now you are learning this guidance and counseling. So
Yes, ma'am.
being teachers, that is our responsibility. Listen to our students, because that sometimes there is nobody at home to listen to them. Maybe mother is also going out for work, then she has no time to listen to him, then he is seeking for father's love. So then you have to talk to the child, closer to the child, listen to him, and if he has this kind of evil feelings, you can eradicate them. So it's good that you told me, and so be a good teacher to him. So one day he will remember you forever.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I will do so.
Yes. Okay. Right. So then now think of that the underworld figures, that they also had teachers, right? So they also had teachers. Can the teachers be proud of them? That my student, so can they be proud of them? Teachers, because they have not paid their attention to them. So at a very young age, something might have gone wrong. So then if the teachers could change the mindset of the children, so then that they won't fall into that kind of situation. So I can remember that one story told by that one sir, that he was responsible for the discipline of the students, right, in a boys' school. So one day, when he was going to school, that he had seen a big fight near the canteen. A boy, he was by force snatching the food that is in the hands of little boys. So then this sir has talked to him, and that he has told he has lost both parents and he is looked after by grandmother. So the grandmother is earning money by selling these little things. So this boy has nothing to eat. So what this sir has done was, he has told this boy and the canteen people, so this boy should be given food in the morning and during interval. I will pay at the end of the month. So like that, he has paid this boy, and until he leaves the school after all levels, right? So this sir says that one day he was standing by the side of the road, and a police jeep has stopped near him, and a very handsome, well-built man has got down from the vehicle and has worshipped him. So he has told, sir, I am the boy who was stealing food from the other students and who were eating, and you have changed my life. Now he's a big shot in the police. He's a very maybe that IPO or somebody that means a big shot. So then see that he could change the life of that child. So if it was keep, that means if that incident, so that it was continued, sometimes he may be a thug. So even that he may be a notorious case in the school. So that sir could change his life forever. So that you also can be like that, the immortal teacher channel. So you can help your children. So the best thing is you have to understand your children, because they have lots of untold agonies inside them. So we have to help them to overcome them, because sometimes some soothing words would be enough. You don't need to spend money, just to listen to them, just to give them some kind words, and just to talk to them in a friendly manner. That would be enough for these children. They will change their whole life, right? Okay. Any other who want to share their stories? Okay, so we will continue then. Right. So then, that we were talking about the sociometric test to see that to observe. So we use observation, and there we identify the social interactions among the students. That there are some children that who are friendly with many. So then they are called social stars, right? So they are liked by many of them, right? Okay. So those were that previously we were talking about the testing methods, right? Testing techniques. So what were the tests we were talking about? We were talking about, so we have proficiency tests. Proficiency tests are conducted to see the proficiency level of the students related to that subject. Proficiency tests, diagnostic tests, summative tests, formative tests, achievement tests, right? So there are so many tests. types of tests. Now we are talking about non-testing techniques. These are not testing techniques, but they are used to collect data collection techniques, right? So then in guidance and counseling, we use these techniques to collect data, right? So they are interviews, case studies, observation, cumulative records, and questionnaire, right? So if we consider about interviews, it's a kind of non-testing technique that we use to collect information. So we give another word for interview, that is conversation with purpose. So we are having a conversation with another person for a purpose. Maybe to identify some reasons for their behavior, or to help them to find solutions for their problem. There's a purpose, right? So then it is a relationship between interviewer and interviewee. Interview karana kena, interview wena ekkena, right? So then we have diagnostic interviews, that we use interviews to identify certain information or strengths or weaknesses. So we have administrative interviews. So that is to we let them express themselves. So they have to tell about. So sometimes we give warnings, we punish them, we change their behavior through administrative interviews. Then employment interviews are conducted to select the correct candidate for the interview, right? So they ask lots of questions related to the job and related to their abilities, and they select if they feel that he is the correct candidate. Then admission interviews. So before enrolling for a course, they have an interview, right? So then they consider whether this student's psychological status, whether he is suitable to follow this course. So they have their admission interviews. Then we have informative interviews, that is that we impart a lot of knowledge. Then research interviews, right? Then so most of the time counseling interviews are conducted to help the client to solve the problem, right? So we help him to understand the problem and encourage him to find solutions to his problems, right? So then counseling interviews is a person-to-person relationship between the counselor and the client. So always counselor helps the client to solve the problem. Right. The main functions of a counseling interview, right? It facilitates the counselor to have face-to-face contact. So they have face-to-face, that means we call it confrontation. Confrontation means face-to-face interview, right? So what is the advantage of having a face-to-face interview? Yeah. What is the advantage of having face-to-face interviews?
Honor.
Yes, why?
To be honest.
Okay, to be honest. Okay. What else?
Eye contacts.
We can observe the eye contact.
Good reliability. And fluency.
Yes, now here, during a counseling interview, counselors, this is it's a counseling interview. So then, counselor listens to the client actively. Yes. When we are listening.
And feelings, madam.
Yes, that's the main thing. So when we are listening to the client actively, we can observe their facial expressions, their emotions, their gestures. So then we can feel whether they are embarrassed, whether they are scared. So the problems. Then we can sometimes we can, they may hide certain things. Then if we are having a face-to-face interview, we can ask questions and get it revealed. So මට වැදගත්ම දේවල් තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ හංගන්නේ. ඒතර වැදගත් දේ හංගුවට පස්සේ අපිට වැඩක් නැහැ මේ discussion එකේ. So we have to get it revealed anyhow what. Right? So then
And madam can be friendly.
yes, it improves the relationship between the counselor and the client, right? Okay. So then it helps to collect a lot of information, because if there's anything that is not clear to us, we can ask questions and get their information, right? So thereby we can identify their interests, their personality characteristics, right? Their strengths, weaknesses, so we can solve their job problems related to their jobs, educational problems, psychological problems, individual problems, social problems. Sometimes they have some problems with the peers. We can help them to solve them. Right. So then before a counseling interview, we have to explore the problem of the counseling at the client and help the client to face and overcome the problem, right? So then before discussing with the problem, counselor should be well prepared for the situation. So he has to talk to the client and get the understand the problem first. Then only we can make him understand the problem and help him to find solutions, right? So then before the counseling, that the counselor should have a clear picture about the client and his background, his environment, his strengths and weaknesses, right? Also, counselor should use a clear method, right, for the interview. And sometimes we have to tell them purpose of interview. Somebody may interview කරන්න කියලා කියන්නත් වෙනවා. Right. So then the other thing is, I have been always telling that we have to keep the confidentiality of information of the client. So we get a lot of information through the interview. So, but we should not reveal others. We have to maintain the confidentiality of the information, right? Then, and the other important thing is, for the counseling interview, the client should be willingly participate. Yeah, willingly. Then only the discussion or interview is successful. Otherwise, if he is not willing, we can't take him by force, right? Right. Steps of counseling interview. Now, there are certain steps. First one is preparation of the interview and building a rapport. What do you mean by that? Just read and explain it to me. You go through this. You can, I hope you can see the slide. You go through it and tell me what is this preparation for the interview and building a rapport. What are the things the counselor has to consider when before having an interview? Yes. How can the counselor prepare for the interview?
Can get information about that and observe it.
Yes, so he or she has to find information. Yes, he has to find information beforehand in advance. කලින්ම හොයාගන්න ඕනේ මේ client එක තොරතුරු. Right? So then counselor has to plan what he is going to do first during the interview. Right?
And try to make the person comfortable.
Yes. So for that, counselor has to find a suitable physical setting for the interview. Right? So then use necessary materials. You have to collect necessary materials and find a suitable setting, physical setting for the interview, and prepare for the interview beforehand, right? Identify about the client, his background, his problems, right? Because that physical setting makes the client feel comfortable. Then after that, to establish a rapport with the counseling client, how can we do that? How can we establish a rapport? Rapport එකක් ගොඩනගා ගන්න.
Be
So before this
familiar.
major interview, we can, yes, be familiar, be
Familiar
friendly with the, familiar and be friendly with the client. එයත් එක්ක යාළු වෙලා, එයත් එක්ක කතා කරලා, right? Then we have to respect the client. We have to maintain the confidentiality, right? Okay. Then arrive at the problem that the counselee faces. What is that? What kind of methods he can use? Yes? What kind of methods the client counselor can use? Just tell. Arrive at the problem that the counselee faces. So then the counselor can use methods like observation,
want to understand the choices of the counselor.
talking to the client. Yes, even listening to the client and understand his problem. So thereby these techniques will help him to understand the client and the problems he or she is encountering. And thereby it's easy to help him to solve the problems, right? Right, then there are some more. Working jointly on the problem. How can we do that? So these all are steps of the interview. Working jointly on the problem. So both counselor and the client should work together to solve the problem, right? So then counselor can give him advice, how to handle it, all these things that they have to, they become jointly, they are working on the problem, right? So the counselor can use empathy, active listening, understanding, using humor when counselor is helping the child to solve the problem. Next one, closing the interview. So we can't just finish an interview. If we are having an interview with a client, we can't just say, okay, now enough for today, you go, come later on. We can't do that, right? So then you need to make sure that the client is satisfied with whatever the work done by the counselor. Yeah, සතුටු දෙදා දවසේ වැඩ ගැන කියලා දැනගන්න. Right? So then at the end of the interview, counselor must have all the necessary information about the client. The next one is evaluation. A counseling interview is often evaluated on the basis of the physical setting. The counseling interview that we have to pay our attention to physical setting, the counselor, the client, the outcome of the interview, what do we expect from the interview, we have to consider all. Then follow up. Follow up must be initiated by the counselor. Follow up එකක් නිතරම වෙනුනේ අපි අර මොන හරි අවවාදයක් දීලා යවුවට පස්සේ ආව නිතරම බලන්න ඕනේ මෙයා මේක ඇත්තටම ප්‍රැක්ටිස් කරනවද තාමත් මට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙනවද. We have to have a follow up, right? Initiated by the counselor to know whether the counselor's problem has been solved. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳුනාද කියලා බලන්න, right? Then follow up also helps to improve the interview techniques, right? Follow up means now after giving necessary guidance, we check whether they have found the solution or whether they need further counseling or guidance, right? Okay. Counseling interview should typically cover the following areas. What are the areas we have to cover during an interview? We need to identify his previous work history. If he has already worked, his or her work history. Then educational history, educational background, up to which class they have, he or she has done the education, hobbies, interests, family background, whether parents are divorced or parents are dead, or whether they are not supporting the child, not looking after the child, right? Then social activities of this child, physical conditions, appearance, abilities, personality. So all these things we have to consider, right? Right. What are the advantages of a counseling interview? Nothing about counseling interview. Counseling interview. So sometimes talking with the person is also a kind of therapy. තමන්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න කෙනෙකුට කියන එකත් එක්තරා විදිහක relief එකක්. Rather than harboring it inside. Right? So it is the best technique which information about the individual can be gathered. Counseling වලින් තමයි interview එකකින් තමයි අපිට ගොඩක් ළමයින්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න හොයා ගන්න පුළුවන්. It's just like it's a conversation, and by revealing the problem, client becomes very comfortable. Yeah, ගොඩක් comfortable වෙනවා තමන්ගේ හිතේ තියෙන දුක කියලා වුණාට පස්සේ. And very easy to conduct because it's between only two people. So then it helps the client to get an understanding of the problem and solve the problems. Right. What's a case study? Yes, what is a case study? Give me 1 minute. Right. What is a case study? And what kind of information or what kind of techniques do we use in case studies? So case study is an in-depth study of a case or a student. Right. So then there we gather lots of information by different means. So we find information about his family background, his social interactions, emotional status, intellectual environment, then his, if he has some diseases that we can gather documents, progress report. So then we observe the child, we interview the child, the teacher, parents, we give a questionnaire, we study about his medical reports. So like that, in different ways, we find information about the case, about the child. Right? So then, so we can do a case study about a slow learner, hyperactive child, emotionally disturbed child, right? If the child has behavioral problems, so we can have a case study to identify the problems related to this child. Right? It's an in-depth study, ගැඹුරු study එකක්, because we use several methods to collect information like observation, interviews, giving questionnaires, studying the documents, right? So we use almost about 5-6 data collection methods. The following information needs to be collected for a case study. What are they? Preliminary information. the basic information like age, sex, parents' age, education, occupation of the parents, income, number of children in the family, what is the social status of the child with the others. Then past history. Past history means whether he has taken any medicine, whether he was suffering from any psychological problem, right? So whether he was suffering from a mental illness, right? Or wrong relationship with others, like that. Then present condition. So like his physical, medical, intellectual, emotional, social, his interests. So this information is gathered. Then thereby the counselor comes to a conclusion regarding the problem or problems encountered by the client, and it's easy for the counselor to help the client to solve the problem. ප්‍රශ්න මොනවාද ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් ඒක සමහරලාට සමහර ප්‍රශ්න පොඩි ඒවා නමුත් එයාට තේරුම් ගන්න අමාරුයි. So then we can make them understand the problem and help them to solve by themselves. Right. The following steps are taken when preparing a case study. So then we have to find the case. So we have to form a hypothesis. Hypothesis කියලා කියන අපි එකට එකක් හදා ගන්න හරි. අපි හිතමු this child is suffering from depression because he has undergone some rape, some kind of rape situation. ඒක නිසා මෙයාට දැන් depression වගේ ඇවිල්ලා. So we form a hypothesis. Under that we are studying. අපි ඒක හිතේ තියන්න තමයි අපි study කරන්නේ. So later on we can prove it is possible, correct or wrong. Right? Then after that we have to collect essential information from different means, by observing, by interviewing the child, parents and teachers, even friends, then giving a questionnaire to his child's friends or parents. So whatever it is, we can gather, collect lots of information. Identify the factor that create the problem. Then we identify what's the problem for his, what's the cause for his problem. Application of remedial measures and treatments to solve the problem. After that, with the help of the client, we have to apply the remedial measures or treatment for the problem. Then after that, we have to have a follow-up. Follow-up අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම තියෙන්න ඕනේ නැත්නම් treat කරලා වැඩක් නෑ. So then we have to see whether he is okay and whether the prescribed techniques were effective or whether it was useful for the client. The main elements of a case study are diagnosis. Diagnosis can reason එක හොයනවා. Treatments අවශ්‍ය නම් එකට ප්‍රතිකාර කරනවා, and follow up. After that we just see whether he is okay or whether he needs further counseling. Diagnosis, identifying the problem by collecting the essential information. By collecting information only we can identify the problem. Then treatment. So then remedial measures or treatments are given if the child is suffering from depression, especially depression නම් එයාට medicine ගන්න වෙනවා. හොඳේ? Follow up is done in a case study to know the effectiveness of the measures used to solve the problem. ඒකේ follow up එකක් කරන්නේ අපි අර case study එකේ use කරපු ක්‍රම, ඒ කියන්නේ techniques ඒවා effectiveද කියලා බලන්න මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳන්න. So then it's very important. Following up is very important. So after giving treatment, not giving up. We should not give up. We have to follow up whether he is still okay or not and whether he needs further treatments. The characteristics of a good case study. Right. Okay. Tell me the characteristics. You may also happen to do some case studies. Tell me the characteristics of a good case study. What the case study characteristics kya? So we should be able to collect enough information. That means from by interviewing, observing, then through document analysis. Then what else? interviewing the student, friends, relatives, parents. Then the case study must be reliable and valid. Case study must use reliable and valid data. ඒ ගන්න data reliable වෙන්න and valid data වෙන්න. A case study must be dynamic, very active process, must provide complete information about the person. So through this case study, we should be able to gather a lot of good information about the case or the client. A case study must keep the information confidential. So throughout the counseling process, we have to keep the information confidential. Right? So we have to use scientific techniques for analyzing information. So these are the characteristics of good case study. What are the advantages of a case study? So the case study can be used to identify the treatment for the individual. So we can find, since it is an in-depth information, we can identify whether the client needs more treatments and what kind of treatment should be given, right? Because we get lots of information for the case study. So then case studies help people to come to suitable, help people to adjust to the situations and for overall development of the individuals. So these are the disadvantages. When we are doing a case study, it takes time because we use lots of data collection techniques, so it takes time. And it's sometimes subjective. Subjective means it's not very fair, because if I am doing the case study, I have some my subjectivity. Subjective. So case study is a difficult method because sometimes it needs the hands of experts and professionals. Then interpreting the results of a case study is also a little bit tough task, difficult task. Next one is observation, right? So there are different ways that we can do observation. We can directly observe. Now imagine one of your lecturers comes to your ISA ISA comes to observe your lesson. Do you know that you are observed by him or her? When they are observing your lesson, do you know that whether you are observed or not?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Then what is your behavior? If you know you are observed by the teacher, that ISA, what is your behavior?
It is not normal.
It is not normal, right? So you show some kind of abnormal behavior because you know you are being observed, right? So then, so observing is a very commonly applied technique to gather information, to gather reliable information. So then, the counselor can learn about the behavior of the students and come to conclusion about the person, right? So as I told you, there are a number of observation methods: direct observation, then indirect observation. Indirect observation means without letting the observer that we can observe. Participatory observation. Teacher also becomes a part of the lesson. Lesson again. Lesson again activity again. So that is participatory observation. So teacher so teacher teaches, or teacher does the interview. Teacher gives the questionnaire. So he is a part of the process. Then non-participatory observation, without taking part, you can participate. How can we do that? Without taking part in the interview, or without taking part in the observation, that means without involving in this, how can we take part in this observation? How can we do non-participatory observation? They don't participate for this. But anyway, they collect data. How? How can we collect data related to observation? Yes, Mata?
While
Yes, tell.
teaching in the classroom.
Okay, while teaching in the classroom, what else? Even by giving a questionnaire, so you give a questionnaire to the students. Okay, you bring this home and ask your parents to answer the questions in the questionnaire. So then you are not taking part, but you just give the questionnaires and collect data. So then, indirect observation, I told you, indirect observation means, through this observation, we can observe the natural behavior of the individuals. So then, thereby, in indirect observation, natural observation, we can identify the natural behavior of the indirect observation means that without letting them know that you're observing, you can observe the natural behavior of the individuals. Okay. Participant observation. This type of observation, the observer becomes a part of the group. We can observe the observer builds a rapport with the group. So the observer keep contacts with the group or group members. So without letting them know that you are observing the group or their interaction process and whatever it is. Right. Observation must be done in a systematic and objective manner. Objective if we do according to our feelings, our knowledge, that is subjective. So we should not do that. We shouldn't do observation. We have to do it in an objective manner. And we should have much preparation. We should have a training to do this kind of observation. Right? So it's very, very important. Right? So you need to have mental, physical, intellectual, psychological preparation when you are doing an interview or observation, even whatever the data collection techniques. Right, characteristics of a good observation. So you have to plan it, because that you have to have some objectives of it. You have to plan it how to do that. If you don't do so, it is not successful, right? Okay. So you can think of the observation schedules. What are the tools you use, right? How do you record information? All these things are very, very important. So how can you properly execute the interview or observation? So then you know that you have to think of the physical setting of the interview, where the interview is going on. And you have to observe the client very carefully at several locations. You have to record what you observed, because that's why I told you observation schedule. So when we are observing the lessons of our students, we have an observation schedule, right? So then we write records, write necessary information in that. Right? Then it must be interpreted after finding information. You have to tell the client what was identified. So the advantages of the interview method are reliable, valid, scientific. So it is easily you can do it without spending much money, very flexible. You can apply to any age group, right? So then you can apply to groups as well as individuals. You don't need training for these. Therefore, these are advantages. So disadvantages are sometimes observation is subjective. So it is subjective, right? There can be used to observe the external behavior, not the internal feelings. So through observation, we can't understand internal feelings. So we are observing their external behavior, right? So then you have to have observation records very accurate, that we discussed previous week. So when we are, even anybody who doesn't have any knowledge about this should be able to understand by reading your records. Right. diagnosis. So diagnosis is a process. Why do we do diagnostic test? We discussed previously. Why do we do diagnostic tests? To identify the problem, right? Or identify certain weakness. So then through diagnostic test, we identify these things. How the counselee or client look at him. And what is his idea about the world around him, right? And it helps to identify strengths and weaknesses of the client. So then through discussion with the counselor and the client, they can come to decisions, right? So thereby they build up very good relationship between the counselor and the client. Then counselor helps the client to find solutions to his problems. Diagnosis helps a counselee or client in the following way. What are the ways? Understand himself, understand his strengths and weaknesses. He knows about his characters, his feelings. They use knowledge, right? Then finally, he changes his or her life. That is the expectation of counseling or guidance. So then, on the basis of the diagnosis test, we suggest him some remedial measures. So right? So sometimes they have to go for treatments according to the severity of the problem. So after that, we have to have the follow-up. Follow-up after giving him advice or whatever the treatments, we have to have a follow-up, right? To see how effective the remedial measures have been, right? Okay. On the basis of the diagnosis, the counselors suggest remedial measures. So after the diagnosis, the counselor suggests the remedial measures for the client, right? The treatments he has to undergo, right? If he wants to overcome the problem, sometimes he has to undergo certain treatments. So then follow-up is done to see whether these remedial measures are effective. Follow-up right? So then follow-up is always done by the counselor to see whether the treatments are effective, right? So if the measures are not effective, so the client and counselor, they can have a discussion again and go for other measures to overcome the problem, right? So then up to now, if there's anything you don't understand, tell me. If you need to get clarified of anything, tell me. Just ask. Anything you want to get clarified? You are okay? You could understand or you didn't understand anything? Tell me what you understood or what you did not understand. Tell me what are the non-testing techniques? You know the testing techniques. What are the non-testing techniques?
Interview, observation.
Interviews, observation, then case study. What else?
Diagnosis.
Yes, we have diagnostic tests.
Questionnaire.
What's that, Putha?
Questionnaire.
Oh, yes, we can give questionnaire, yes. Even questioning is also a technique. There we can ask open-ended questions rather than close-ended question. Are you sad? Why are you angry? They can have only two options, yes or no. But we should not ask those questions. We can have questions, they let them think, right? Now we can, they are called open-ended questions. Now, like as an example, are you sad? Then they will say yes or no. We can say, why are you sad or looking in there? That is a open-ended question. So then you can ask those questions to get more information. Okay, what else?
Case study, observation.
Yes, case study, observation. So what is the specialty of case study when compared with the others? Yes, when compared with the others. What's the specialty? Yes? It's an in-depth study, in-depth, Gamburu study, because we are using several methods to collect information. What else? Okay, right. So if you have understood, we can conclude. Are you the people that doing action research? Or the action research karane? Nadda?
Yes.
Yes, you are doing action research. Okay. So then, do you have any problems related to action research of the format? Format එක එවන්න ඕනද ඔයගලන්ට?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So then I will send the format. Then you can. So you had requested Mr. Richard that you need one more week. Okay, doesn't matter. So I will write the that means the structure of the proposal and send you, right? Okay. Any other thing you want to tell? Anything that you want to get clarified? No? Okay, so we can conclude the lesson today, the class today, that if you have anything, you can talk to me next week and we can have a discussion, right? Okay. Right. Good night.
Good night, madam. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, good night, madam.
Good night.
Yeah, madam.
Good night.